Hello friends, for today's video I wanted to go through and tier rank some characters from Spy Family. I have 5 tiers, as is typically the case with a tier ranking, and the tough part is these characters are all so lovable, so entertaining, so ridiculous that it's really hard to not just put all of them in the high tiers, but somebody's gotta go in the bottom. Doesn't mean I hate these characters, it's just that I don't love them as much as the characters that are at the top. The other thing is, because I love so many of these characters, I wanted to put a bunch of them at the very top, but I'm only allowing myself to put 5 characters total in the very top tier. And I am not going to try to rank them within each tier. I can't do it. I feel like it'd be way too difficult. But the character list that we're going to be looking at, we have, of course, the Forgers, Lloyd, Anya, Bond, and Yor. Then we have Yuri. I kind of went a little bit silly, as is fitting of this show, and I included Daybreak as a character to rank. If you don't remember who Daybreak is, he is the spy that has decided that he is Twilight's nemesis, and he goes about his spy work in the absolute worst way, and he just appalls Lloyd with how bad he is at being a spy. Anyway, so Daybreak is on the list. Frankie, Camilla and Dominic, Henry Henderson, so elegant, Becky, Damien, Bill Watkins, oh my gosh, Bill Watkins, George Glooman, these characters, this show, this manga, it's so, anyway, Ewan, Emil, those are Damien's friends, if you're wondering who they are, because I was like, what are his friends' names? Anyway, Fiona Frost, Sylvia Sherwood, or Handler, and then we have Donovan Desmond and Melinda Desmond. So I'm just gonna jump into it. A heads up that I plan to do this video again with a couple of my friends and my husband, and that is going to be referred to as the Chaos Edition. Anytime I take a tier ranking and I do this with my friends as well, or any kind of like Kiss, Marry, Kill, or anything where we might argue, it's going to be referred to as the Chaos Edition, but be on the lookout for that if you would like to see this again, but with me and my friends arguing about who goes where. My husband is like, I'm going to fight for Bill Watkins to be in the top, so I look forward to that. But anyway, I always like to start in the middle for my tier rankings and then go into the top and the bottom, just because I like building to the worst and the best. However, the tough part about Spy Family, as I said, is that I want everybody to be at the top. So I'm just going to get out of the way from the get-go that the Forgers are all at the top. Lloyd, Anya, Bond, and Yor had to be at the top. Lloyd is so funny. He's just overthinks everything. And there's a quote by Handler that thinks, I don't remember the exact wording, but she says something along the lines of that man is either a genius or a complete fool. And I feel like that's really fitting for Lloyd, because sometimes something will be so obvious and then you get his internal monologue and he is just extremely overthinking it, and especially with Anya's behavior. Anyway, it's just great. I love Lloyd. And then Anya, of course, she's so funny and ridiculous, and the fact that she can read minds and then hardly ever does anything helpful, because her solution to what to do with the information in front of her is always bonkers. However, every now and then she will do something that basically saves the country, and then because she can't tell anybody about it, then she just has to have that be something she knows and no one else does. And it's always so sad when she realizes she wants to tell her friends or the kids at school, and then if she starts to say something, then she realizes like, oh wait, then they'll know, and then she can't tell them. And then so she just like lies, and I just feel bad for her, but I love her. She's so silly. Bond, of course. If I had to rank, Bond would probably be number 1, just because Bond is so cute. Bond is so cute. Anytime they show a Bond flashback, or people being mean to Bond, or Lloyd not understanding what Bond wants, I'm like, oh, I love him so much. And when Anya gets her toy, and anyway, Bond is the cutest. I love Bond. So Bond, of course, is at the top. And then Yor is so cool. I actually think so far we've gotten the most introspection from Yor, which is really cool to see. But she obviously, looks out for her brother. She's cool and she's sweet and she's a little clueless at the same time. She's just such a funny, hilarious character. And the 4 of them as a family unit, they're all great characters on their own, but as a family unit, they just bring out the best in each other. And also, I feel like this story wouldn't be what it is if not for all of these oddballs paired up together. So I always love when shenanigans ensue as a result of the 4 of them together. So I'm not going to say who my 5th person is just yet. I just figured I'd get out of the way that they're all at the top, those 4, because they're great. Now we will start in the middle and branch our way to the top. So in the middle, I'm going to start with Yuri. I wanted to put Yuri lower because Yuri's so weird. It is so weird. His love for his sister is so gross and uncomfortable. In his locker, you're like, dude, what's going on? And there's a part where one of his coworkers is like, you're in a better mood today. I'm guessing your sister's back in town. He's like, how could you have guessed? And you're like, buddy, come on, stop. You're so weird. But the reason he's not lower is because of how funny pretty much every scene is when he is around Lloyd. How ridiculous he is when you put him in any circumstance. Like, he's just so weird that it's guaranteed fantastic entertainment when Yuri shows up. So even though he's so gross, he's also so funny and provides a lot of laughter. So for that reason, I had to put him in the middle. From there, we have Fiona Frost for similar reasons. Fiona's not exactly a well-fleshed out character. You don't know that much about her. You just know she's another agent who's worked with Lloyd before, and she's hopelessly in love with Lloyd. And the fact, I love every time that she's deciding she wants to try and compete for, sorry, there's like a little gnat on my drink cup, and so I was trying to kill it. But anyway, anytime Fiona is trying to fight for Lloyd and she sees how strong Yor is, and just her like, I have to become better, and just the nonsense that is this character, and her love for Lloyd is super funny. She's super funny. She's not maybe as hilarious. You don't see her as often for obvious reasons as Yuri, but she's still really funny and entertaining whenever she shows up. But also, don't try to get in the middle of the Forgers, okay? Back off, lady. And then the other person, I only have 3 in this third tier, and the third person in this tier is Damien. So Damien is funny in the way that he's like the opposite of Anya. However, he's also kind of mean. Sometimes he can be kind of a snob. And then when he does show kindness to Anya, he becomes so frustrated and angry that he then lashes out and is mean to her. And I'm like, you need to learn how to be nice, and it's okay to show kindness to Anya. And also, if you have feelings for her, don't lash out at her. Just accept your crush, okay, buddy? But anyways, it's just the fact that he can sometimes be a snob and sometimes be mean that I don't love. But I do feel like the show and the manga, depends on which one if you've read it or watched it or both, but both do a good job of showing why he is so hard on himself and why he feels almost like there's an injustice when someone else doesn't have to be hard on themselves, like how he perceives Anya. So I feel like there's some depth there. It's not like he's just snooty and mean for no reason. You see the way that the weight of the pressure is on him, and I think that that's done well. I just don't like when he's mean to Anya. So for that reason, he's in the middle as opposed to the second tier. Branching out, we'll go ahead and go fourth tier, so a little bit more on the negative side. This tier is more just, I don't really have many feelings for these characters, so I'm going to go through these pretty quick because I don't have that much to say. One of them would be Dominic. Dominic seems really nice. He's the one that, so Camilla is Yor's co-worker, and then Dominic, I think they're seeing each other, but Dominic, you see him when Yor's trying to learn how to cook and things like that. He just always seems like a relatively nice guy, but you don't see him very much, so for that reason, I'm just kind of like, maybe he would go up if I learned more about him, but for now, he's just here. Both Melinda and Donovan are here, because as villains, they're interesting as villains. We don't actually know that much about them. We know Donovan seems to be very hard on his son, but we don't really know much about them just yet. So this is where, if I were to redo this in the future, maybe these would go in different places, but for now, the both of them are going here because I'm kind of neutral / negative on Donovan because I know he's hard on his son. And then George Glooman, while entertaining and a cautionary tale about lying is George Glooman in a nutshell, he's really went extreme with he overheard one thing and then was off to the races with telling every kid, oh, we can't, and every kid being out to, they suddenly are feeling so bad for him, and he gets all of this stuff from everybody feeling bad, and then it turns out he's fine. So you kind of feel bad for him because you're like, oh my gosh, you internally cringe because you're so embarrassed on his behalf. But he's also just, I'll be honest, he's drawn so weird that his, like, the image of him with his head just, you know, he's an oddball. And I do enjoy whenever he shows up and is just there and reminds all the other kids of that time where he thought he was going to have to move. So he's entertaining, but I don't really have, there's not really like a love for him on the other side. You know, like Damien, there's a little more complexity, and Yuri, it's like, oh, everything with Yuri is going to be chaos. But George, you're just like, buddy, why did you lie so intensely? You know, or not lie, but why did you maybe not wait till you had all the information, you know? Anyway, I kind of want to put George up higher because I do feel bad for him, but I'm like, nah, it's fine. I don't want to overthink it. Let's go up to tier 2. These are characters that, these are the ones that I'm like, who's going to be in 5th place at the top? You know, who's going to be that 5th person in tier 1? And these were all competing, but they didn't quite break into tier 1. So we have Bill Watkins, because he's really only present for a very short amount of time, but he made his presence known. He is an icon. He's just, I mean, that name sticks with me because it's such a 9-to-5 office job name, and he's just this big kid who's really good at dodge. It's so stupid at dodgeball, but it's so funny. Bill Watkins, is that like not the most I have a suit and tie walking in and sitting at my cubicle name you've ever heard? It's so stupid and it's so funny. It's so funny. So Bill Watkins is in this tier just because he's not there much, but he definitely had a big impact. And then Daybreak, same scenario. He's not there much, but he had a big impact, and he's so profoundly stupid. And I remember when I was reading, because it's one of those random little missions or plot lines that's just, I don't even want to call any of them filler, because what makes this so brilliant is that you can write anything. The creator can write anything, and it's going to be entertaining, and it's going to be funny, and it's going to probably poke fun at tropes or things that you've seen done before in manga and in storytelling and all of those things. And Daybreak, I think, really represents that, like, rival spy, but he's so stupid that when I was reading it, I was like, this is so funny. And the fact that Lloyd was so annoyed and flabbergasted by it made it all the better. So yeah, Daybreak I had to put in here. Neither Bill nor Daybreak, though, they weren't really first tier. I was like, no, they're not there. I did have a hard time between Henry Henderson, so elegant, and Sylvia, because Sylvia is so cool. She's so mysterious. She's awesome, but you're like, I just feel like I haven't learned enough yet. Like, you know, there's a past, and you know there's things to uncover about this character, but we haven't uncovered them yet. That's the only reason that she didn't go up further, is because we sort of see her at a distance, and I want to know more. I just haven't gotten it yet. And then Henry Henderson is hilarious, and he is also an elegant icon. However, you know, you don't see that much of him. What I do like is he could have maybe gone into the 3rd tier, and then a part of me wanted to put him in the 1st tier. He could have gone in other places, but I decided this tier, and not higher and not lower, just because you really don't see that much of him. But one of the things that keeps him from being lower is the fact that he really does seem to care so much about the students. At first you think he's just this caricature of somebody who works at this prestigious school, but then you see that he truly cares about the children, which I think is sweet. Going down to the bottom tier, since we've already kind of covered a lot of the top, and I'm going to save the last person in the top tier for the last person that I talk about, but at the bottom, I feel bad, but Frankie, the informant that Lloyd talks to, one, he seems to only really like Bond if a woman happens to see Bond and thinks Bond's cute, so that's already a major negative. It's just, I don't know, there's just something about Frankie that's kind of annoying. And I'm glad he's not in it too much. He's okay in small doses. You know, he's fine. He's alright. Camilla, and just Camilla kind of represents Yor's coworkers. They're just mean, snobby women, and I'm like, no, you don't deserve to be higher up because you're awful to Yor, and Yor's nice. She's a little eccentric and different, but you should learn how to be nice to people like that and not be mean. So for that reason, she's at the bottom. And then Damien's friends, Emil and Ewan, if that's even their names. I looked it up and I'm like, I guess that's their names. You could say any name and I'd be like, I guess that's his friend's name. I don't know. But those two are both in the bottom. They're basically the same person. They're just his hype men, his yes men, and they're obsessed with him. I do like when you see them purposefully get in trouble so that they can be friends, or they can be friends. They're already friends. So they can be with their friend is what I meant to say. I thought that was sweet, but I mean, their whole personality is being obsessed with Damien. And where Damien has some complexity, you don't really see any complexity with these two. Maybe in the future you will. But currently, they're just mean to Anya because she's not as rich and because she maybe isn't quite as smart. And I'm like, how rude. I just want to be protective of Anya. So Damien's friends down here at the bottom. Now, for the last person that I decided to be in the number 1 tier is Becky. Becky is so cute. She's such a good friend and she's such a character and she's so entertaining. And Becky provided me with one of my favorite random missions, I guess you could call it. But before we get to that, I just want to say Becky could easily be like Damien and Damien's friend. She's extremely rich. She could be mean to Anya. Not saying it would be justified. I'm just saying you see the other characters be mean to Anya because of her financial situation and her background and things like that. Becky could fall into that also. She could fall into that trap, but she doesn't. She's just a kind, sweet girl. She's friends with Anya. She notices Anya's quirky and different sometimes, but she's just kind of like, oh, Anya, and she's nice to her and she's friends with her and she likes to go shopping with her and she wants to include her on things, and it's just sweet to see her be so sweet to Anya. And she also tries really hard at school and she's got this big imagination, and that leads us to what is one of my favorite moments in the whole manga and in the whole show, which was when Becky finally gets to meet Lloyd and Yor's not around, and she decides she's going to try to use the techniques she's seen in her soap operas. She like takes her hair out of her pigtails and like whips her hair around stuff, and Lloyd has no idea what's going on, and when she like leans on him and she's like, oh boy, I guess I'm drunk. It's the funniest, it's one of the funniest moments in the whole story thus far, and it's so silly, and it's also, you're like, oh, this little girl has a crush on Lloyd. I get it, you know, you're like, I get it, but she's not like Fiona where it's like you gotta worry, which you don't really have to worry about that anyway, but it's just silly. And when she sees why she thinks Lloyd loves Yor, which is that Yor is strong, and she decides like, I'm gonna be strong too, and she starts to like train with Yor, and she's like respects Yor, and Yor of course is sweet, so Yor is training with her, so you're just like, ah, can Becky be a part of the family? She's so cute, and she's so funny. So Becky for me is the 5th person in the top tier. But anyway, that's it for my Spy Family character tier ranking. I'm really looking forward to when I do this tier ranking with my friends, because I have a feeling the Forgers we're all probably going to agree on that, I think. But who's going to be that 5th place spot? Because I'm not going to let them put more than 5 either. So we're going to probably argue about that. And I don't know where they're going to, like, some of them might want Yuri to be on the bottom. Some of them might want Damien to be higher or lower. I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm really excited for that. So be on the lookout if that sounds like fun. Thanks so much for watching, though. If you love Spy Family as much as me, tell me who would your top 5 characters be. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.